Sean, Corey, Topanga. Do any of those names ring a bell for you? How about Mr. Feeney? If you guessed Boy Meets World, then you are absolutely correct. For those of you unaware, Boy Meets World was a popular coming-of-age television show in the 90s that followed a group of adolescents in their journey through middle school up until college. But Boy Meets World was more than just a television show. It was a learning tool that guided us through life. In fact, each episode taught its audience an important life lesson, whether that dealt with relationships, bullying, family, death, and school. There are so many lessons from the show's entirety, but I want to share with you the 5 most important life lessons we can take away from the series. The first lesson, and the one that I think we can all agree on, is that growing up is not easy. Sure, the series ended with everyone generally happy and in good spirits, but there is one thing that the show did not sugarcoat, and it was that the journey is never a smooth ride, especially when you're an adolescent. There were many times when things did not fall into place or go as planned for characters. This can easily be said about Eric, Corey's older brother. He was set on going to college, but was unable to due to struggling with the SATs and getting bad grades his senior year. But eventually, he found the motivation to retake the SATs and eventually getting into Pembroke with Corey, Topanga, and Sean. If there is something to take away from this lesson, it is to adapt, think, and react. The second lesson is to always be yourself. Sure, this is something, including myself, that we hear from time to time from peers, but it is so important. In season 1 of Boy Meets World, Topanga was a little eccentric, if you will. She was free-spirited and considered herself a flower child. She was getting picked on, but she didn't care because she knew that she was being her true self, and that is all that mattered. In fact, Corey liked her, despite her quirky personality. So, the lesson is to always be true to yourself, and in the end, it doesn't matter what others think of you. The third lesson is that family can be found anywhere. Sean, Corey's best friend, is a prime example of this lesson. He did not have a good home life and was with the Matthews constantly. In fact, they considered him family, even though he was not a blood relative. Mr. Turner, an English teacher of Corey, Sean, and Topanga, took Sean in when his father couldn't. If there is something to take away from this lesson, it is that family can be found in friends, mentors, roommates, and significant others. Family is defined by love, not blood. The fourth lesson is to listen to adults. As a kid, it was hard to admit when my parents were right about something. Looking back, they really do know what is best. Corey and Eric's parents, Amy and Alan Matthews, always had a heart-to-heart up their sleeves whether the Matthew boys wanted to hear it or not. We can't forget about Mr. Feeney, of course. He was the neighbor, teacher, and mentor to all. He doled out the most important advice we could ever need. Even in my 20s, my parents still give me advice, and even when I do not care to admit, they know what they are talking about, and I'm sure you all can relate. Lastly, the most important lesson from Boy Meets World is actually Mr. Feeney's last piece of advice to Corey, Sean, Topanga, and Eric. That is, believe in yourselves. Dream, try, do good. I think this is his best advice ever. He managed to sum up the entire series in this final statement. As the gang was headed off to live in New York, they spent their final moments where it all began, in Mr. Feeney's classroom. If you remember, it was such a heartwarming ending, but the message is what really stuck to me. Have confidence in your abilities, always keep reaching for your goals, and be good to yourself and others. Something that we should all keep in mind as we go through life. So whether you have seen the show or not, I hope that you can agree that these are 5 valuable life lessons that we can still use in our everyday lives. If you have seen the show, you probably tuned in for the laughs. But if there is one thing that I want you to take from this, it is that this show was more than comedic dialogue with a cast of charming characters. It is that this show showed us the pitfalls of adolescence and the importance of friends and family. That was the true essence of the show.